And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Over the years, people have often said, hey, what's a good game to play with my kids? And one of my standard answers has always been Gulo, which is a game about taking eggs out of a bowl without making a stick fall over. It sounds kind of dumb, but it's always been a game that has really gone over well. But the game has been out of print for a bit. Well, now it's back in print with this new version, actually, Pharaoh's Gulo. Because, hey, throwing the Egyptian theme on a board game is an obvious thing to do. Well, whatever. Gulo has always been a great game. This changes it up just a bit, but the basic premise is the same. If you've never played it before, well, I'm about to show you how it plays. And if you have played it before, well, I'm about to show you the differences. Either way, here's the game. On the board, you're going to put different tiles. These tiles, some of them go inside the pyramid, and some are in the desert before the pyramid. Now, this is the whole focal point of the game. There's this wooden ball, and in this wooden ball, you are going to put this, basically this timer stick, and from a bag, you're going to pour in a bowl of marbles. Now, let's get the stick in there so that the marbles hold it in place. Now you'll notice that they're marbles of different colors, and players are going to be pulling marbles out of here. When you pull a marble out, you can only use one hand. You're allowed to touch other marbles, but you're not allowed to do, like, oh, I'm going to move this and grab that. No, like if I need to grab a blue marble, I need to get in there and grab the blue marble without making other marbles fall out like I just did, or more importantly, without having it so that this stick falls on the ground. Now on your turn, you're going to be moving. Now to move, there's a couple things you can do. You can pick a tile that's already face up. But if there is no face up tile, you pick the next one in line. So I picked this one here. To move there, I need to pull out a yellow marble. Boom. Got it. So then I move there. The next player can either try another yellow one and move to where I'm at, or they can turn over to the next one. It's yellow. So they pull out a yellow. But instead of moving here, they move to the first yellow in line. Then maybe the next player turns it over red. So they pull out a red. And they'll move all the way up to the red. Then the next player decides to turn this over in a white. They pull this out, go to the white. Now it's my turn. Obviously I don't want a yellow. I have to be careful though. If I pull out a yellow here, and I'll go here. Well, I'll turn it over anyway. It's blue. So I pull out a blue. And I move all the way up here. Now since I landed on a scarab space, I'm going to get a scarab. And scarabs are kind of important later on. And it's going to go back and forth, as eventually somebody is going to be unlucky enough to make the whole thing fall over. Blue. Now once this stick falls out and hits the ground, you've set off the alarm. That means you have to go all the way back to the start spot here, and all these marbles that are in the bag are poured back in, and we set the whole thing up again. Things change even more when you get inside the pyramid. When you get inside the pyramid, you'll turn over tiles, and sometimes when you land on a tile, it shows a mummy. At that point, the mummy will move spaces equal to whatever the tile says. For example, this one here shows the mummy 3 times. The mummy will move 3 spaces. If you make this thing fall while you're in the pyramid, you'll go back to the beginning spot of the pyramid. So you don't go all the way back to the very beginning. But if the mummy hits you, you are in trouble unless you can lose a scarab. You want to have scarabs so that you can not worry about the mummy. The mummy's going to move all the way here, and then he's going to move back, and he's going to keep doing that. But you don't want to lose scarabs, because when you get to the final spots here, and you turn over the 2 tiles that are in here, you need 2 scarabs to even get inside the tomb. So you have to land on these spots here where there's scarabs. Once you're inside the tomb, this one shows 2 yellows. You'll need to pull 2 yellows out. But whatever the 2 colors are, the first person to get in here and pull those 2 things out is the winner of the game. Pharaoh's Gulo. Well, the box is probably too big. This is a huge box, okay? But the components inside are really great. This whole mechanism of the eggs, and you gotta be careful when you pour these balls out. More than once we poured them into the thing and they went all over the place. But the whole concept of having this stick not fall over is really well done. And one of the reasons that I've always said Gulo is a great family game is because parents and kids can play against each other with, you don't have to be like, well, we got to take it easy on the kids. No. In fact, the kids are probably going to have a better chance of you because their fingers are smaller and they can get in there and grab those eggs, while us big, clumsy adults are going to grab the eggs and knock the stick over. And so it's a lot of fun. And the whole premise of movement, I've always found to be slightly complex. You have to help kids, like, okay, you can move to the next color you want, or you can turn over another tile, and then you have to move to that color. You have to do that color. So you're taking a chance on what color you're going to get, or you can go with one that's sure. You see that white egg at the top, grab that one. Although I don't know if they're eggs in this one, they're stones or something. I call them eggs because that's what they were in the first game. The mummy moving is I think fits in this game because he's kind of scary, but not that scary. And I also like the fact that when you get halfway and you make this thing fall, you only go halfway back rather than all the way back. The scarabs, you get to get a certain number of scarabs and stuff, and so there's a little bit more game here than the original Gulo. If the original one was still easily gettable, I think I prefer that one to this one because the Egyptian trappings and all the little additions, with the scarabs and the movement of the mummy are fine. I just think that they take almost away from the simplicity of the original game a little bit. I think I like the original a little bit better than this one. But since this is the only one available, this is still an excellent game. The Egyptian theme is fine. Kids, I think the Egyptian theme is sometimes worn out, but not really in kids' games. In kids' games, they'll be like, ooh, that's neat. Go into the thing. Oh, here comes the mummy. That's still, this whole big game is really just this. Everything else about the game doesn't matter. It's, can you pull one of these out? And they're all different sizes. You got the yellows, the bigs, and the whites, and the reds, and the blue ones, which are really hard for me to pull out. I almost always knock the stick over when I pull them out. High quality components, really nice artwork. The whole thing is a good package. If you're looking for a game to play with the entire family, you will not go wrong with this one. That's Pharaoh's Gulo. Dice Tower Judgment, excellent!
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff.
Shut
stuff.
the
Check
door.
them out at CoolStuffInc.com.